we can move on. Talking of Arsenal, we can discuss them because we know, Pete, they've got a couple of number 9 targets. One of those, of course, is Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon. Have you got an update on that for us, please, and his potential valuation?
Yeah, he's been on Arsenal's list since the start of the summer, since they were looking at a number 9. Gyökeres was right up there at the top, and there's no surprise about that because of the season he had at Sporting Lisbon. He had an unbelievable debut season there following his move from Coventry. I think he scored 43 goals in all competitions last year and 15 assists as well. So, yeah, he was prolific. And a lot of top clubs around Europe have been keeping an eye on him. Chelsea were also linked to them. There's also been talk that Liverpool and Tottenham are interested in Gyökeres as well. But the problem for all these interested clubs, including Arsenal, is his £86 million release clause. I think that might be a bit too steep for a lot of those clubs. So I don't think anything will happen with Gyökeres right now unless that release clause drops or Sporting decide to lower the price tag on Gyökeres and decide maybe we'll take 60 million for him rather than the £86 million release clause, because they signed him for under £20 million last year. So it would be a huge profit if he was to be sold this summer by Sporting. But yeah, there's no doubt that Arsenal do like him. They have scouted him on a number of occasions. He's definitely high up in that wanted list. It's all going to come down to price tag because I don't see Arsenal or anybody else meeting that release clause. But if there is a sort of lowering of that price tag by Sporting Lisbon to a more realistic figure, there could be potential maybe for Arsenal to sort of firm up their interest in Gyökeres, especially if they do sort of offload some of their fringe players, the likes of Eddie Nketiah, Emile Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson. If players like that were to leave, they'd be all pure profit as well because they're all homegrown talents, and they would seriously boost Mikel Arteta's transfer kitty as well, and that could go a long way to maybe funding a deal for somebody like Gyökeres.
Picking up on another potential move, Pete, we know that Mike Marino has also been mentioned in that conversation. Is there a valuation on him, please? And is he a more realistic target than Gyökeres this summer?
Yeah, he's probably an easier deal to do. Mikel Marino from Real Sociedad, due to the fact that he's now into the final year of his contract at Sociedad, and neither party have been able to agree terms on a new extension for him at the club. So yeah, Arsenal are right in there trying to sign Marino. It does seem that Mikel Arteta is a big fan of his fellow Spaniard, who had a decent Euros for Spain. He obviously scored that crucial winning goal against Germany in the semi-finals to send Spain to the final. But yeah, he's a quality operator. Premier League fans might remember him from a short time he had at Newcastle, I think under Rafa Benitez, when maybe we didn't see the best of Marino, but he's gone back to Spain and he's definitely flourished. And I think he could be a smart signing by Arsenal to play in that midfield. He's obviously quality on the ball and he's a good size and a good strength as well. So I think he can definitely adapt to the rigors of the Premier League. So probably Real Sociedad looking around 20 to 25 million pounds for him due to his contract situation with only 1 year left. But there will be interest, there will be competition from other clubs in Marino. Barcelona, Atletico Madrid are both looking to try and keep him in Spain as well. But I think Barcelona, even they might struggle now to afford a fee for Marino as well. So I think Arsenal are probably in the box seat for this one as it stands.
I think he's a steal at that as well, don't you? I think for that price for the player. I mean, you talked about his time at Newcastle. He went initially on loan, didn't he? And then played a few games, less than 20 games, I think, for Newcastle at the time. But gone back to Sociedad, played nearly 200 games. And you see him playing the international team at the level that he's at. And I think the way that Arteta's team play, he just seems the right fit. And for that type of fee in this day and age to get a player of that quality, and obviously with Arteta, with his Spanish connections, I think that's one that could happen.
Picking up on that, Pete, I know you mentioned there, talking of Barcelona and some of their financial struggles. They've obviously been heavily linked with Nico Williams. Is there any talk that Arsenal could potentially try and hijack that deal? What could happen with Williams' future this summer?
Well, obviously Barcelona are doing everything they possibly can to try and raise the funds to try and get this Nico Williams done. He is their number one target. The player himself is very much open to a move to Barcelona as well. He would prefer to move to the Catalan club if he is to leave Athletic Bilbao this summer. I'm sure the English clubs are keeping a close eye on it. I'm sure Arsenal do like him, but I think if there's any English club who might try and hijack a deal for Nico Williams, it's probably Chelsea, who would probably stump up the money to try and activate that release clause and pay a huge wages as well to Nico Williams to try and convince him to move to England. But I think the player...
Am I right that he's on huge wages where he is, and that could be a stumbling block? His wages are massive, which is what's kept him at the club.
Yeah, he's on big wages at Bilbao. He's their star man, so that will be a big stumbling block for a lot of clubs. I think it has put teams off maybe pursuing an interest in him. But as I said, I think Barcelona are doing everything they can to maybe ship players out to raise funds to do it, and they do seem to be the ones really pushing to get a deal done and trying to link him up with Lamine Yamal again on each wing, where they were so successful for Spain in the Euros as well. But I'm sure if the Barcelona deal doesn't happen, there'll be English clubs ready to try and move for Nico Williams, because we saw at the Euros what a player he is. I think he's only going to get better and better. But yeah, you've got that huge release clause and you've got big wages as well. So it's an expensive deal for whoever wants to do it.
Pete, you mentioned earlier on about Eddie Nketiah, him potentially leaving this summer. The future still remains quite unclear for him. Have you got an update on that for us, please, and his potential exit from the Emirates this summer?
Yeah, obviously we know there's interest from Marseille in Nketiah. Talks have been held between Marseille and Arsenal over a potential deal. I think the price tag is probably the one sticking point in this one. Arsenal are looking probably close to £30 million plus for Nketiah, which is a big transfer fee for Marseille to try and meet. Nketiah himself, I think he would be open to a move. He knows he's well down the pecking order at the Emirates under Mikel Arteta. And I think at this stage of his career, maybe he needs to move on for a fresh challenge. And then we might see the best of Eddie Nketiah right now as well. And especially if Arsenal do bring in another forward in this transfer window, it's just going to increase competition for places. So, yeah, I think talks are ongoing between the clubs. It's a matter of trying to thrash out a transfer fee, and if Arsenal are willing to drop their price tag on Nketiah, Marseille are still hopeful that they could bring Nketiah to the club. They've just signed Mason Greenwood as well, and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. So it does look like Roberto De Zerbi is trying to raid the Premier League for new signings, and it does seem Nketiah is next on his list. But I'm sure if we do get more willingness from Arsenal to sell Nketiah this summer, and maybe the price tag comes down, there'll be a few Premier League clubs maybe looking at Nketiah as well, not just Marseille.
Surely it's his time now, Nketiah. I mean, 25 years old. He's been a bit part player for so long. Every single transfer window we seem to be talking about him. You look at him, he's not going to start regularly at Arsenal. There's always talk about Arsenal having they need a number 9, they need a goal scorer. And then Nketiah still doesn't play. So where does he fit in that Arteta side? I mean, he's 25 years old. Last season, he made 37 appearances, which is amazing. When you think about it, you talk about these bit part players. He made 37 appearances, but only 13 of those were starts. And that's all competitions. So you're putting cup competitions in there as well. So it comes down to the player's drive and ambition as to, look, that's where you're going to be. Your 37 appearances, only 13 starts. Next season's pretty much going to look the same. Do you want to be part of the squad, or do you want to finally move on and fulfill that potential that everybody's talked about and be the main number 9 somewhere? And I think that's where he is. If he wants to move, he's got to force it through himself.
Yeah. To wrap up on them, Paul, picking up on that, the other name is Gabriel Jesus. He's been linked with the Saudi Pro League potentially. What would you make of his valuation? And actually, do you feel that he could be a real figurehead in the Saudi Pro League? Could we see him move this summer?
I think he's another one in the Saudi Pro League that's got the name and he's got a profile that Saudi Pro League's not going to go away. I think there's an opportunity for him to stay in the Premier League, compete for titles with Arsenal, compete for trophies. But there's still that nagging thing about Arsenal needing a number 9. Is he their number 9? I think it'd be interesting to see what they do this summer, whether they do bring a number 9 in. He doesn't seem the out-and-out goal scorer. I think with Jesus, I think there's still a lot of European football left in him before he goes to the Saudi Pro League. Not sure on his contract situation. Pete will probably tell us more, or how long he's got left on his deal, or whether Arsenal would need to cash in on him or not. If they get decent money for him and he's got a year left or 2 years left, then it's a different conversation. But if he's contract bound to Arsenal, then he's a player that Mikel Arteta won't be in a hurry to get rid of. But he's, again, we spoke about Arsenal needing a number 9. We quite often do it in different media outlets. Pep Guardiola won the Premier League without a number 9. Arsenal came very close to it last year without an out-and-out number 9. You know, Havertz took on that mantle. He played as a 9. Jesus played as a 9. And it's arguable that neither of those are an out-and-out 9. But Havertz did that in the Euros. Unless it comes to a situation where Arsenal need to cash in on him with his contract situation, a move to the Saudi Pro League for Jesus, as with others like Kevin De Bruyne, will always be there because of the profile he's got.
He's got 3 years left on his deal, so I don't think Arsenal any rush to let him go. The big problem with Jesus has been his injury problems. Just when he's getting into a good run of form for Arsenal, he does seem to pick up a knock, and I'm sure that's frustrating for him as it is for the Arsenal fans as well. But I still think he has got something to offer to Mikel Arteta's side. Again, he might not be too happy if Kai Havertz starts the season as the number 9 in the new season for Arsenal. Then he might want to push for a move as well. But I think he's quite content there. But he does, as Paul says, he fits the profile for the type of signing that the Saudi Pro League clubs are looking at. He's got Manchester City on his CV, plays for Brazil. He's a big name, so maybe Arsenal might have their resolve tested before the close of the transfer window if the Saudi Pro League clubs firm up their interest with major bids.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.